Hi everyone. So hopefully at this point you have watched the introductions video, so you already know who I am. My name is Alicia Pettit. I highly recommend watching that introductions video if you haven't, if you decided to skip it. It's very informative on me and kind of the vibe I think for the class. But this video is going to be on the course syllabus. So I'll talk a little bit about the syllabus, how the course is gonna, kind of be ran. And so hopefully with this information on this video, and then of course being able to kind of peruse the course shell and the syllabus, you will have all the answers to your questions. So I've got the syllabus pulled up in front of me. You should probably, as well as you, kind of go through this one with me. So first thing, let's see. So I already told you my name. The next thing, contact information. So you can contact me through CSN email or through Canvas messaging. I prefer Canvas messaging only because I'm typically on Canvas like every day, checking something, grading something. So you'll catch me, and I have it on my phone. I mean, I have the CSN email on my phone too, but it's just different. Because here's the thing, this is why I think students also prefer Canvas, is because if you email me through my CSN email, which is totally fine, you also have to use your CSN email. You can't use like your Gmail or your Yahoo or whatever, your Hotmail, whatever, whatever you have. It has to be your CSN student email. Otherwise, I won't get it. And if I do get it, I'm not supposed to answer it or open it. So just so you know. The required textbook, Essentials of Biological Anthropology. This is the Clark, Spencer, and Larson. It's the 5th edition, is the one we're using now. And when you go to the books, like if you go physically to the bookstore, say you want the hard copy, you should be able to find this very easily. If you buy it online through another, through whatever, that's fine too. It doesn't matter to me as long as you have it. I would say that, because I know in some classes you're like, do I really need to buy the book? I would say, I'll say a couple things. One, I'm never going to pull something obscure from the book, like for an exam, that I didn't clearly talk about in a lecture. However, if you are the kind of person who, when you buy the book, you actually read the book, like I have assigned chapters, it will only benefit you. If you're the kind of person that buys the book, doesn't really read it, and you feel like you're wasting your money, I mean, you guys are all adults, most of you, it's up to you, but there's nothing directly from the book that I'm assigning, something where you had to have the book. In the lab course I teach, you 100% have to have the book. In this class, I would say I highly recommend it. It will only benefit you, but it's at your discretion. So let's see what's next. Okay, so the next thing, we have the course description and then the student learning objectives. So why don't my glasses on? Squinting to see. Okay. Yeah, so the course description, you're going to be learning about, genetics, heritability, the evolutionary process, primates, etc. So it's got a couple things here for the learning outcomes. Basically, what the department hopes that you kind of take away from this class. So we've got a list of 4 things, so short list, but it basically says that you as a student should be able to understand like scientific process, the scientific approach, not just the scientific method, but everything, peripheral to that in the scientific process. You understand biological anthropology and its subfields. You understand how the evolutionary process works, genetics, all of that. We're going to look at primatology, because humans were primates, so we're going to be looking at us. We're going to be looking at other primates, other apes. We're also going to be looking at, why am I blanking? Oh, like the other ancestors in our more direct lineage. So you may have heard of species like Homo erectus or like Australopithecus africanus or like Australopithecus afarensis. So you maybe have heard of like the famous fossil Lucy. So we'll talk about that as well. The next thing is probably the most important part, and this is the course schedule. So this in the syllabus is very clearly laid out for you exactly what is expected of you for that particular week. And I have it all sectioned out for you. So I have it in 3 sections. So this class is basically in 3 sections. The first section is all of the evolutionary stuff. Second section is like primates, and then third section is the hominins, which are like more closely related ancestors. So those are like the three main, sections for the class. And you'll see here in the course schedule what is expected. You're, looking at, you're watching the lecture, there's maybe a quiz, there's something due, all of that's laid out. This is, of course, here in the syllabus, but the course schedule is also on the Canvas Course Shell's homepage. So you don't even have to try to search for it. It's right on our homepage. Like, because usually when students have questions, it's about the schedule. Like, what are we doing this day? Or when is that thing due? Or, that's all there for you on the homepage as well. But also, when you are in modules, which is where everything is clearly laid out for you, if you go to if you log into our course shell and you go to the left side of the screen, you'll see it'll be like, like grades, quizzes, whatever. You should see one that says modules. You're going to click on that and you'll see everything for the whole semester laid out in the ideal order you should kind of do it in. So you'll see the first, it says section 1, then it says the week of August 28th. So I always have it as like the end of the week, so you kind of have like the whole week to get it done. So you'll see on the first week, you're supposed to watch this video, the introductions video. Then you're going to watch 2 lectures on general info about anthropology and science. And then there's also the PowerPoints there that you can follow along with. And then you have a concept quiz. Those are really short. Those are just kind of make sure you are like, watching the lectures. You're kind of following along with the content. Those are like easy points for you. You'll see, like, as an example, the next week, it's the week of September 4th. You have a lecture, there's the PowerPoint that goes with it. You have another lecture and another PowerPoint. Then you have another lecture and another PowerPoint. And then you have another quiz. So some weeks, depending on, how that's kind of sectioned off, you might have 1 lecture, you might have 2 or 3. And if you, scroll down, you'll see that, I'm like, where did it go? October, November. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is we don't go into November in this class. That's right. Okay, I don't think we have any holidays then in the first part of the semester. Okay, no. So you'll see, because it is a shorter class, that there's a little bit more crammed in, but none of it's overwhelming. I mean, I don't really think so at all. I think it's like standard, what would be expected of you in a regular, like on campus. I teach this course on campus all the time, and I basically adjusted a couple of things to make it a little more friendly for online, but it's basically like the same thing. So I didn't make it like harder or anything like that. And of course, the convenience is that you always have all the information readily available to you. You've always got the book next to you. You've got everything you can pull up online, lectures, whatnot. So it's all like at your fingertips, everything for this class. Let me go back to the syllabus. Where'd it go? Okay. Yeah, so you can just kind of peruse that course schedule. The next section is the grading section. So this should be pretty straightforward to you. It's out of 1,000 points, not some weird number. So at the end of the semester, if you're like in the 900s, you're getting like an A. If you're in the 800s, you're getting a B. And you'll see the breakdown. So the first thing is that there are 3 exams for this class, the 3 sections. The third exam is not really cumulative. It's just about that third section. So those will be done, of course, all online. I have the instructions for each of them. They're arranged between like, true, false, multiple choice, short answer essay, and there is a time limit for them, but I give you as much time as I would give the students in class, so maybe even a few extra minutes, so you have, plenty of time. The next thing, the article review. So there are 4 of these, and you will see those also clearly laid out in the course schedule. In fact, let me go to let me pull it up next to me so I can tell you exactly. So you'll see, I think the first one. Let's see, article review number 1 is due the week of September 18th. So you will see that when you're looking at this, that week, the week of September 18th, you will see there is the PDF to read the article, and the next item after that is to turn it in. So you don't have to go like search online for the PDF or anything like that. It's all in Canvas for you. So you would like read the article, then you do the little write-up. It's very simple. The instructions are there for you in the assignment. But for the article reviews, it's like one page double spaced, nothing over complicated. I just want to know you kind of read it. You give me a kind of a brief summary, it's not that long. I want to know, like, you read it, you thought about it a little bit. Super easy. There are 4 of those. The next thing is the project. This is the big thing. Now, I've been doing this now for probably like 5 years, where I stopped giving students a research paper, and I started doing this project instead, and students like love it. So I'm hopefully you guys do as well. So basically, instead of spending a bunch of time doing a research paper, which is not everyone's favorite, you're going to spend about the same amount of time but doing a fun project. Now, you don't have to work with anyone, it's just by yourself, and you have some options as to what it will be. Now, you'll see if you look through modules, there is another video that's like project instructions where I will go into great detail exactly what is required for that project. So you can look at that. But I will tell you right now, basically you have a couple of options of like an art project that I've offered. You get to pick one of those. And then during the course of, this class, you will do a few things related to that project. The first and easiest one is you just tell me your topic. There's a little survey that you have to do. You'll see that there's a module itself called like class project, and you'll see all of that in the class project. So that's due, I think a couple weeks into the semester, you think of an idea. But basically the general idea for the project, like I said, very simple. Don't get overwhelmed with it. You pick a topic, something that you've read in the book, something I've talked about in a lecture, anything related to this class. And then you can pick between either like a drawing or a painting, a sculpture, what's the other? Oh, like making a short little, movie. There are a few options for you. And then you basically using information, from this class, you have to find a couple of resources, and then you just do your project. So I've had students in the past do drawn like with just pencil and drawn like a beautiful scene with like Neanderthals in it. I've had students do like a full human skeleton and charcoal. I've had other students get really elaborate and do like a sculpture of a skull. In fact, I have some pictures I've taken before. Maybe I'll put something in, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll put something in modules to kind of show you some the students in the past how they did them. So you have, the idea is you learn something, you're still taking information you've learned, but instead of regurgitating that into like a research paper, you're going to just do a fun art project. So say you're like, I would have written a paper about, Charles Darwin, but now I get to draw a painting of Charles Darwin. Like it's up to you, or I want to make a little movie where I'm pretending I'm Charles Darwin and I'm acting, talking about, the Galapagos Islands or whatever. So like I said, in the other video, I go into great detail, and there's also instructions in a PDF that you'll be able to kind of look at and stuff, so it's very, very clear. I will say, though, let me just pull it up real quick, that in modules, it's the very last, I think it's the last module. If you scroll down, you'll see it. It's basically the one thing you're going to do like in that last week. Well, I mean, ideally you haven't waited to the last week, but it's all kind of set up to be due that week. So you can see here that there's the instructions are clearly there. You have to do your little approval topic from me. That's due earlier in the semester, though everything else is due at the end. Then there is your actual project that you're going to do, and then you're going to write this really brief little blurb just to give me a tiny bit of information. You're not writing an essay, you're not writing a paper, you're just giving me like, this is my topic. I hope you like it. Like, the instructions are very easy. And then because we can't all meet in class where you get to show me all of your cool project, you have to make a short video and upload it. So basically, I think I have the instructions of the video needs to be like 30 seconds or less. Basically, just so I know you did it, you're like, hey, it's me, my name's Alicia. Here's my hand skeleton sculpture. Let me see it at a couple different angles. And you're like, thank you. Like, it'll be really, really brief. So like I said, In the other video, I go into much more detail, so definitely watch that. So instead of writing a paper, which a lot of students don't like, you will get the opportunity to do a fun, art project instead. So hopefully you like that. Let's see. Oh, the next thing, there is a documentary. Sorry, hair in my mouth. There's a documentary. I will post the link, or it's already posted. You're going to turn in some notes regarding that. The instructions are all clearly there in modules, exactly what you need to do. It's very simple. It's an excellent documentary. It is my favorite documentary. I show this documentary to my students, like in class and stuff. I watch it every semester with my students at least 2 or 3 times because I have multiple 102s. I've every semester for the past probably like 10, 12 years, I've been showing this documentary, and I don't get tired of watching it. It's so good. So you're going to have some fun with it. And, there are points associated with watching it, like I said. The next thing is a syllabus quiz. You're going to do that early on in the semester. That is just so I know you've looked at the syllabus. You can have your syllabus in front of you, obviously, when you take the quiz. It should be easy points for everybody, 100%, for everybody. Let's see. And then, of course, there are those little concept quizzes along the way. That's just so I know you're kind of keeping up with the content. But those are also really easy points. If you have, which I'm assuming you guys have all watched the introductions video where I talk about myself and the, I'm blanking on words right now. The Rate My Professor reviews. I feel like they're very accurate. I try not to make anything too super difficult. I try to make the class fun and interesting. Hopefully you do not feel overwhelmed with this. I know sometimes you're looking at everything at once in modules. You're like, there's so much. But if you take it week by week, don't get overwhelmed with this class. So you're like, oh, there's quizzes and there's another quiz. And most of it's pretty straightforward and easy points. The exam's going to challenge you a tiny bit more. You're going to have to write a few sentences, but it's nothing crazy overwhelming, So don't stress too much. Maybe stress about another class, but you don't really need to stress about this one. I mean, you're going to learn. It's going to be interesting and fun, but I wouldn't stress too much, And then you're going to get a few points for participation. Basically, if I see you're basically turning everything in on time, mostly, you're going to get those points. That's fine. So now a little bit more on those assignments is next. So the first one, the article review. So here you are the details in the syllabus, but the details are also when you go into that assignment, like in modules, it's there as well. So like I said, you're going to write like a 1-page double space, the standard like Times New Roman, 12-point font. You're going to give me a brief summary of the article. You're going to tell me what you think the author wants you to take away from it. It's very straightforward and simple. The class project, which I said, there's way more info coming later on that. I mean, it's there for you now. You can watch it in the other lecture video. But I just kind of outline in general here in the syllabus that you get to pick a fun topic and do an art project. Oh, and I want to say, I say this in the other video too. Do not worry if you do not have, what you think you don't have an artistic ability. I feel like everyone does. It's just subjective, right? I'm not grading on any of that. I'm not grading on if your circle is perfect or if your skull looks accurate. Like, I'm grading on effort. So let's say if I assigned you a 6-page research paper, for most students that might take them, let's say you sit down maybe one afternoon, maybe another afternoon, couple hours here, couple hours there, you write it. I would say, I think the standard for most students would be an hour per page. So let's say you sat down on a Saturday afternoon to write a 6-page paper and you spent, 6 hours, let's just say. On average, some of you might be really quick, some of you might take longer than that. So I would say putting in that same amount of effort into the project. You don't need to spend 100 hours on it, but you've got to spend more than 20 minutes. So put in the effort. If you would imagine you're like, I'm going to do a painting, I can imagine getting, I got the canvas, and then I've got some art supplies, maybe some glitter, and I'm going to put on like 2 different movies, and just as I'm watching those movies, I'm going to be doing the art project, right? Something like that. Imagine you're going to spend 4, 5, 6 hours, something like that on it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Put in the effort though. So I'm going to be thinking of when I look at your project, whatever you've chosen. Did this person spend 20 minutes on this, or did they spend a few hours? That's really the main thing I'm looking for. So don't stress if you're not artistic. This can just be a fun thing you do. I'm not going to, grade you necessarily on that. And you'll see I've got some art. I've got a lot of art in my house. Every wall, like, literally is covered like this. And there's like themes to the walls. I love to do art, whether I'm good at it. I feel like I'm like average. But I love to do it. We often go, me and my partner, we go to this place called Pinos Palette. I'm sure some of you have heard the location we go to is in Town Square, but there's like one in Boca Park. There used to be one in Green Valley, but it's not there anymore. But there are also a few different companies similar to that around town. There's like, I think it's like Painting with a Twist. Basically, you sign up, they walk you through, I mean, step by step. Like, take this size brush, da da da. And usually, like, if you're of age, you can drink some wine. Usually I get a mimosa. So it's a lot of fun. But you get to just be fun with it and have, do your thing. And my partner and I will kind of compare, like, oh, this week, which one of us did it a little better than the other. But, you know, in fact, I'll show you one we just did this weekend. Okay, was not planning on doing this. Okay, so I'm sure most of you are aware of the adorable short-spined raccoon named Jimothy at this point. He's like a worldwide craze over the last month or so. And if you haven't, look it up. It's Jimothy the raccoon. You'll die. It's adorable. He's adorable. So, but at Pinos Palette, they offered most of the classes are 2 hours. Sometimes they're a little longer, but most of the standard are like 2 hours. And so we went there. So I'll show you. Very proud of it. So this is my partner's. He doesn't know I'm showing you this. So this is my partner's. So cute, right? So you see it's Jimothy, and then there's like some trash. There's like a trash can. So he did a really, really good job. And then mine, I put some bones, in my trash. It's a little different. I highly recommend. It's like, I think it's like $45, so it's not like super cheap. But if you go like once a month, that's usually what we do. You get, all the painting supply. You have to pay for the drinks, but the drinks are really cheap. It's like, like $6 for a glass of wine or something. If you're into wine, I think they have mostly like wine, like bubbly. I don't think they have hard liquor. I could be wrong. But it's a blast. Anyway, so I love to do fun stuff like this, and I figured why not make a fun project for the students to do where it's actually something they can kind of just express themselves, but they're still doing something related to class. Like I said, I have a lot of students pick something either directly or peripherally related to like Neanderthals. So I have some really amazing, some over the course of the last year, few years, some of the students have gifted me like a sketch and stuff. So I have a few of those in my house. They're framed. But yeah, I mean, you can pick, like I said, any topic from basically the class. Okay, I'm just gonna ramble about the project when I have a whole other video on it. Okay, let's see what's next. I already kind of talked about the documentaries and the syllabus quiz. Those are really self-explanatory. If you miss something, so I have it set up in Canvas. Unless there's an issue, always let me know. But I have it set up in Canvas to where you can still turn things in late, but you will most likely get marked down. Now, it's 10% off per day late. So you could turn it a whole day late and still get an A on it, right? An A minus. You could turn it in 2-3 days late, you're still getting a B or a C. Like if it's well done. If you even if it's days late, I always say to my students, a 50% F is still better than a 0% F, right? So even if you're thinking, I'm going to get an F, well, you still can get half the points at 5 days late, even 4 days a D, right? In the end of the semester, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm at a B plus. If only what I would have, taken the fewer points on that one assignment, I'd have an A minus right now. So, even if it's late, do the work. After 10 days, it's not going to count for anything. So if it's been more than 10 days, then, probably just move on to something else. But also, please always reach out to me if you need to. I try to be very available. I've got a lot of classes, but I'm pretty good at, keeping up with emails and messages. So, you know, I get life can be, trust me, I get life can be very hectic, and most of you, I'm assuming, are in school and then also working. Some of you probably even have kids. I mean, it can be a lot, right? I totally understand. So sometimes you might miss something, you know, it, I'm, I understand 100%. So you can always reach out to me and let me know what's up. especially if maybe you're missing a lot of assignments, I would definitely reach out to see if I need to help you in some way. So communication is key. Extra credit. There is the opportunity for extra credit in this class. You can watch a movie, a documentary. That's usually the one the students select. As long as you send me like the name of it, like, oh, I found this documentary about Neanderthals on Netflix. Send me the title, and then I'll be like, oh, thumbs up. It's fine. Because I used to not do that, and then I've had students in the past do extra credit on the most wildly like unrelated things to class. So I'm like, okay, as long as it's related to anthropology, biology, even science in general. Let's say you found this documentary about a really famous like physicist or something, that's totally fine too. Anything related to science is fine. Even like some nature documentaries are really good. Anything related to like, nature or science, I would love it if it was like primates or something like that, but it doesn't have to be. So there are like, thousands of options. So if you're like the documentary type person, but also it doesn't have to be just a documentary. It could be just a regular movie, you know. There, I'll put a little list in an announcement to kind of give everyone a heads up on some recommendations I have, because I know some students like to kind of get a jump start, maybe doing a little extra credit in the beginning to kind of buffer things towards the end. Maybe you have a little more time at the beginning of the semester, but there's no limit. You can do as much as you want. And then I have a little thing here, which we're supposed to put in here, that says I have the right to change anything. Like if I made any major changes, I would just post an announcement. Like if I'm sick or something and I'm like, oh, nothing's going to be graded for like a week, I would let you know. Or if I had to rearrange a lecture, I would say, oh, everyone pay attention. I made a change in the module. Like I don't think I'll have to do anything like that, but you never know. And then basically everything else after that in the syllabus is just the like other CSN information, all of the stuff that you're going to see in basically all your CSN syllabi for the whole, semester. That's the standard stuff. So information on if you think you maybe need a DRC accommodation, if you maybe need counseling services, if you need help with like the library system, information on like, don't cheat, the plagiarism stuff. And I'll say about that, because I've caught students, and I'm sure there are plenty I haven't caught, but when I catch them, I hate it. It breaks my heart because I don't want to have to, spoil maybe someone's grade or their semester or something. But unfortunately, there is a certain level of, academic integrity we all have to have, especially in a science course. Science is very reliant on the fact that it's a very objective and factual, and we have to have like real work being done. And so if that were to come up where I suspected something, there are steps that I would have to take. I hope that never comes up in this class, and here's the thing, if you feel that you are in a place where you're gonna, let's say, thinking of plagiarizing something in this class because life got busy, work came up, you ran out of time, I totally understand. It is so much better for you to reach out to me and say, look, this is where I'm at. I ran out of time. I thought I had time, then work, or I got sick, whatever. It's better for you to reach out to me and we negotiate. Maybe you get an extra day, or, we figure something out together, than for me to catch you doing something that you shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? So I'm always willing to work with the student on any of that. It's much better for both of us. I hate to have to do it. I've had to do it with students before. I caught students cheating on exams. In class, of course, it's a bit different than like online, but it still exists. So the nice thing about online is you can have the book. Like I'm not there hovering over you like, do you have the book out? Like I assume that when you're taking an exam in this class, you have the PowerPoint pulled up, you have the book, so it's a bit different. So I make, of course, the exams a bit different because of that. So, okay. That's pretty much it. And look, it's under 30 minutes. I didn't think I could do it. Like I said, I'll just kind of end this with, if you go into the course shell, and you've seen modules, which you must have because you're looking at this video, you will know that everything is clearly laid out for what's supposed to take place throughout the semester. And there is the ability for you to work ahead a little bit, which for some of you might really work out well, or you don't have to at all. It's up to you, but everything should be very like clearly laid out, organized, user-friendly for you. But please reach out if that's you do have a question. I think that's it. So I'll see you guys on the next one.